Mr. Prime Minister, good to have you. Thank you very much. And first, let us talk about the Ukraine. 4 years of war, 10,000 of deaths, and yet there's still no end in sight. Has the West been too hesitant in its support of the Ukraine so far?
I would say that we can always do more because, for example, Estonia has pledged from our this kind of finances 0.25% of our GDP each year. Last year we did even more, 0.35% of GDP. If all the Western countries would do that, you can imagine what would happen. But at the same time, I would say that during the last year, the sanctions and also the stepping up, keeping the Russian assets frozen, tackling the shadow fleet, and stopping Russia from circumventing the sanctions has made Russian economy crumble. I would say right now they are not in a good position, and each day we're getting closer that they will be forced to talk to Ukraine, and Ukraine will have just and lasting peace on their terms.
Germany and the EU have condemned Russia's latest attack on the Ukraine. Russia continues its war of aggression against Ukraine, which violates international law. Is peace even possible anymore? And if so, how?
I would say that Russia will be stopped only by strengthened unity. So the peace, and just and lasting peace and victory of Ukraine is possible when Russia is pushed to the point, when Putin has to negotiate. And I would say that this point is not so far away. It was quite close, but Hormuz and energy prices rising gave once again lifeline to Putin too. But when you look at the Russian state right now, they have a demographic crisis, they have a shortage of fuel, they have this kind of cognitive problems already, because for Putin it was 3 days special operation, and now it's 5th year of that. And you can see that the ports, Ust-Luga, Primorsk, have been hit and they are burning. You can see the metropoles are hit already. So if you're asking that if the peace is possible, yes, but just and lasting peace will come when Putin sees that there's no other option. He cannot pick different positions to play allies against each other, and everybody is standing behind Ukraine and will be pushing Russia. So right now this is happening, and this is what I expect also from European Union and NATO.
How concerned are you about your country's security in light of Russia's repeated provocation?
I would say that Russia still, and Putin still, is an acute threat to NATO countries. And even it doesn't ask if you are on the eastern flank or you are far away. Because, for example, Estonia has been under constant cyber attacks since 2007. And in last 3 years, the attacks mainly coming from Russian state and criminal players have been tripling. So that means that even though they are making aggressions in Ukraine, they at the same time are attacking our data, trying to obtain it, corrupt it, alter it. But the same could be happening here. For example, when you come to Berlin, they could be in your database on your phone, looking at your prescription data and so on, and to alter it, and it could be very delicate. But the main reason is that the threat won't go down until Russia's goals are changed. And Putin takes the breaking up of a Soviet Union as a personal insult and also this kind of global catastrophe. He wants to change it. He wants to revert it. And that is his goal, and he can be only stopped by force. So investing in defense, Estonia has been investing last year. We are investing more than 5% of GDP. So is Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and everybody increasing the security investments. For example, EU and Canada invested 139 billion more in year 2025. So that means that our defense capabilities are going up. And that means that Putin will have no longer the window to attack NATO, and he doesn't make the mistake. But we have to keep this tempo up.
US President Trump repeatedly questions the NATO alliance. How great is the concern in Estonia that in the even of a crisis, Europe will no longer be able to rely on the US?
I have been Prime Minister a little bit over 2 years, and everyone has their own tenure, different kind of events and that, and my tenure has carried this kind of layer of security questions and security incidents. And that means that Russian shadow fleet, for example, in Baltic Sea, has hit critical infrastructure. And right now, we have NATO ships on the sea because NATO stepped up and NATO works. That means that I called Mark Rutte, who's the Secretary General of NATO. Alex Stubb called Mark Rutte, and our military guys interacted, and now the ships are there. And at the same time, we had Russian planes, MiGs, in our airspace. Italian F-35s went up and diverted them, escorted them out. And a little bit ago, not so long, Romanian NATO fighters, which were air policing, shot one drone down on our territory. So that means that on the practical sense, NATO is working absolutely well, and that is tested in so many areas. And Trump's message also after The Hague and different incidents was quite clear and robust to Russians, that he said, for example, when the Russian MiGs came into our airspace, said that you can shoot them down if needed. And also he said that when asked that he will protect the Baltics and Poland. So my answer would be that I'm quite assured and I rely that NATO is working, and in practical level it's working absolutely well. And the Americans are also there because we need good transatlantic partnership. And there's no better allies than Europeans and Americans to keep the rule-based world.
NATO is working, and the NATO summit in Ankara begins next Monday. What are your expectations or demands as you head to Turkey? What specifically do you expect from the NATO summit?
I would say there are these kind of main lines maybe would be that NATO should stay strong as it is. And everybody should invest more, as pledged in Hague, because last meeting in Hague, or last summit in Hague, we agreed that the defense expenditure will be 5%. In Estonia, it's the defense expenditure on core defense is already exceeding 5%. So we expect our allies to step up, to increase the defense expenditure. And also we expect this kind of messages towards Ukraine that we will be there. We are helping Ukraine and backing up Ukraine. And these are probably the most important messages that also Russia will read and understand that NATO is nothing to step up against because NATO is so strong.
One of the European goals at the NATO summit is to further advance their own defensive capabilities in order to become more sovereign and independent, especially from the US. In your view, what is necessary for European foreign policy to become more autonomous?
I would say the answer probably is already in the question, that we need new defense industry capabilities. Defense industry is growing quite rapidly, but still I would say the tempo should be even faster if possible. Right now, I would say that Germany, bigger countries are leading, but also everybody else is contributing. And for example, I know that Norway, Denmark, everybody else is investing in Ukraine. Estonia, as the Baltics, are cooperating with Ukraine to have this kind of agreements for the new production, for the new this kind of drone capabilities. So we need new defense capabilities and defense industry to grow. And also at the same time, we need that everybody will do their part of NATO defense plans, and that means investments from the budget and from resources. So if that is done, then I would say that European Union and NATO countries are much stronger in year 2 or 3 than they were.
Mr. Prime Minister, you represent one of the smallest EU member states. Do you sometimes get the impression that it is precisely the small countries that are the most realistic when it comes to security policy, while the large countries having hesitated for too long?
I would say with one example that the first time I met German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was in Kiev. I was visiting Kiev and he was also there. He was still not the Chancellor, he was running to become the Chancellor. And he had a quite clear view on the security questions, and he has lived up to the expectations because he's quite straightforward about ramping up the defense expenditure and defense industry, and also keeping us together and united against Russia and helping Ukraine. So I would say this is even not a question about being small or big, it's the question of mindset. And I would say right now Europe and the majority of Europe is on the right foot. We are behind Ukraine and we are pushing Russia, and it's working. That is a good thing. The strategy is quite simple, but it's working.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.